Hello, friends, family, RSQers, people we have never met that are coming across us. We just finished Suzanne Clark's Piranesi. Um, I'm already gonna apologize at the beginning of this because I'm gonna use the word unique a lot because I don't know how else to describe it. I had a really hard time reviewing this book, and
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
it's because it's kind of by itself in its everything. Yeah, it's up on a pedestal, not necessarily for like good or bad. It's just on its own. It's just its own
Yeah,
thing.
we're gonna have to circle
It's so
back around to
unique.
this when we do like our final score and our recommendation, but it's very unique and it's very different. It's not going to fall into like a typical I don't think our rating score is going to be an accurate representation of like
Of how we feel. You know what we could
yeah,
do is we could just rate it with our RSQ and then give like a vibe score. We're not driving. We could totally do whatever we want. Anyway, cover review. I know this isn't the original cover. The original one is this is all black, I think.
yeah, I think it's the one I just had up, but
But
looking at my phone screen is hard.
I think anything Greek always drives me in. So like this whole cover here would drive it. And this is a hot take because apparently people hate this. The cover that like stops here and is short. I love this. I love this. And people are like, it's just not, it doesn't go all the way to the end and it pisses me off because it's different. No, it's fine. I feel like
Yeah,
I don't have
it's
any issues
unique.
with this.
I don't know why people have problems with it. I like
Uh,
unique things on books, like
it's
things that are
spellbinding,
different.
strange, and unforgettably original. How would you know that if that wasn't there? You wouldn't.
You
Um,
wouldn't.
Anyway, I love this cover.
Me too. It's unique. I mean, I would look at it and pick it up off the shelf and be like, "What's this about?" And then I wouldn't know what it's about, and then I would read it and I still wouldn't know what it's about.
This gives really nothing away. It's like integral to like things, but it's really not at the same time. I'm not gonna prop it up because one, you probably can't see it, and two, it's gonna fall over.
You can't see it, but I almost want you to prop it up so that it does fall over, because it happens every video for some
It
reason.
does.
Why
And my
haven't you
wife's
3D printed a book stand?
because I'm that's a good idea and I should text that to me so I don't forget.
All right.
Also, I've already woken my wife up accidentally once tonight for being too loud, so I can't just be chucking books off of the desk.
Well, anyways, to jump right into it, our first category, the first weird, unique category, well-developed characters, character development. Where are we landing on this? How you feel about this? You want me to go
So
first, or do you want to go first?
I'll go first because
Okay.
I feel like we might differ. I feel good about it because, and I'm going to say this for every category, because of the way that the story was told, we have an unreliable narrator, right? Our main character who like isn't unreliable on purpose. He's literally just a
Amnesiac.
dude. Yeah, he's got amnesia. So we learn things through his perspective about other characters through his journal entries. And I think that the way we're given the information, one, besides being unique, is an interesting way to like trickle information to us as the main character reads it or like figures it out, or we learn a little bit before the main character. So I think that the main characters that we needed were Piranesi, the other, who is Ketterly, and I think well at the end, Raphael um, and Dr. Lawrence were our four main people. I feel like we could have gotten more about Dr. Lawrence. I think we got enough because it wasn't really about him, even though he kind of caused everything. I think the other and Piranesi were our main people that we really needed stuff about, and I feel like we got enough about them to be totally fine with the story. Although I will say, like retrospectively, I think the other we needed more of a motive.
Yeah.
Why did he bring are why did he bring Piranesi into this and keep him there? For what purpose? But I feel like their characters overall were developed well. We might not have known their motive, but their character overall, we can kind of see they were
So
they're rounded enough.
if you needed more information on the main antagonist's motive, are you still giving it a 1?
Wanted more. Actually, I will say that I would need more, a little bit of the reason for that. But I feel like I know the character enough to have enough information about them to be satisfied with the story. Contradicting myself, but I feel good about my point.
I rated this one 4 question marks.
That's not a
I
number.
put 1, 2, 3, 4 question marks and said, I don't know how I'm going to rate this whole book. No, the big question that I put in a lot of these categories was, did we need more?
It's gonna be a need more, want more.
Exactly.
That was my
that was my big question on the notes. Like we didn't, I don't think we needed more. So from the perspective of we didn't need more, I could give this a 1. I still had coming later, sneak peek, emotional impact, which is another, I think, good gauge of like, did we understand our characters well enough to feel emotions? And yeah, the things that I need from character development that propagate to the rest of the book, I got. So I'm also okay giving it a point with the big tagline that I had in this and a lot of other categories was I wanted more, but like, does the story fail without me having more? No.
I feel like besides like the gap that we had, I feel like we're getting this story from the view of Piranesi, right? It's from their point of view, and they're in like this childlike almost. And I texted you about this. I'm like, I feel like this main character, and this is the first like 20% before we knew anything. I'm like, this person seems a little like on the spectrum, just the way they're like analyzing the
Yeah.
clothing and all the statues, and I
And the
have
way
to
they have their
categorize
journals.
all this and stuff in the journals and stuff. I wonder if we're gonna get like a little bit of something, and it ended up not being anything like that. But just like the very like childlike state is their point of view, so that's how we're getting the story. So we're getting rudimentary details. We're getting very specific details about very rudimentary things. Um, and I think that plays into the story because we're not meant to get super deep into the why would he do this type thing because he doesn't get why and he can't fathom another person like doing this to him. So if he can't fathom it, it's not going to happen. We're not going to get that information.
Yeah,
And now that I'm saying that out loud, that makes more sense to me.
if you're watching this, you've probably already read the book because this is long form, but this is a super fun book to not have had any introduction to and just read it and get to experience it fresh, which is how we
Dry.
prefer to go into things anyway.
Dry.
Nice and dry, like sandpaper.
You can tell it's
Anyways,
late.
yeah, if you can't tell by the lack of light, by our squinty eyes,
2:35 my time.
12:35 a.m. my time. 2:35 sounds like a better time. Sounds like PM. Sounds like it's afternoon. And 12:35 sounds like lunchtime.
It ain't.
We're
It's
getting
nighttime.
distracted. From there, originality and creativity. Easy.
Yes,
This
sir.
one was an easy point. It was super unique, super creative. I don't have anything else that was like I'm comparing this to. Nothing else makes me feel like this book.
This is one of those things we're going to talk about in every category. The uniqueness of this story was, again, nothing to compare to. I really enjoyed how fresh this was. This is one of those things, and we'll talk about it later, where we're like, I don't know if the first 15% like was confusing. It was intentionally confusing, but it was so confusing. Like, what is the author doing?
What is
And then we
happening?
hit 20%, and I was like, oh,
Oh,
I
yeah.
get it. So if you're like a frequent DNFer, 5% and 10% and like, oh, I didn't like this book because of blah blah, you're kind of missing out on some good stuff. Start
That
DNFing at 30%. We're not DNFers, but I've heard 30 to 40% is where you need to keep the book for it
Start
to really count.
DNFing once
So
we
that's on
finish the
you.
book.
Yeah.
That leads perfectly into the next category. I'm going to segue us because what you
Ooh,
just said jumps into my notes.
segue is so good.
We both gave it a 1 in originality and creativity. Next category, engaging storyline.
Engage us.
I gave this 1 question mark and put at the beginning of this is rough and it's going to require patience. And does that make it a half point? I don't think so. If you can get through understanding that your main character's amnesiac and an unreliable narrator, you'll be hooked. The storyline will flow. But the first 20% is like, what is happening? What is this book about? Is the whole book going to be this way? Am I going to be the whole book be like, what's going on? So that was tough. I think I almost want to give this 0.75.
I have to plug in. Do we start doing that? Because I feel like we're more refined because we can't fully give it a half and fully give it a 1. But at the same time, I'm like, that douchey. Douchey to give a
Yeah,
0.75.
it's tough. The problem is, you know what? I almost think like it's okay to give it 0.75. I almost think it's okay to give it 0.75 in situations specifically where it's like an understanding that the writer made the choice to do this, but that it didn't land for me as a reader.
Damn. So are we evolving in 2026? Our first review in 2026, we're now adding 0.25.
I do this all the time where as I'm like working through my notes, I make a complaint about a bunch of things and then I get down to the writing style and I'm like, oh, the complaint is actually in that like I have a problem with the choices that the author made. And so maybe I just need to take some of the points here in writing style. But again, it was intentional and they pull it off. It just makes the first 20% of the book feel a little dry.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, I don't necessarily need to be like hooked immediately, right? Like, I understand that as a reader, I have to have some building and foundation before I'm going to like really enjoy it. which some people are like, why am I not immediately hooked? And I really think that's why we have certain books that come out like, all right, like Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing just it tries to hook you immediately with tropes and all these things that try and get you love it immediately because it fucking hooks you in with enemies to lovers in like 9 seconds. It's like they haven't even gone through anything yet.
How are they lovers and how are they enemies? They just met.
Haven't had a chance to be enemies yet. But books like that, like you get more garbage lately because people are trying to and they're writing good premises, but they're hooking you in horribly because they're like, you're gonna love it because of this. And then the plot fails out because they're trying to get you with this other thing. But I feel like also not every good book is like you have to read 40% of garbage before you can read it. It's not garbage, it's world building. There's a difference between 40% of garbage, 40% of world. And I feel like we get 15 to 18% of this book is world building and like setting the base because once you hit that 20%, I feel like you hit that click. There's like a chapter where you're like the main
Yeah.
character realizes like, wait, things might not be what I thought. And then the whole world changes.
It's like building blocks fall into place.
Yeah. And I think for me, I gave the storyline a full point. I feel like it's not an action story by any means. If you're like a very action forward reader, you're not going to enjoy this book, and that's totally fine. And I wouldn't fault you as a reader for it. But I feel like
I would.
if you're reading just for action and you know that's only what you like, I don't think you're a well-rounded reader, but I think you're a reader that knows what you like, and that's fine.
Fair enough.
Yes.
They're
I
still
think
bad
that
readers and they need to grow up and mature a little bit.
I think that I'm trying to read my notes here, and it's one of those, I don't know how to talk about this book because I get why people wouldn't like it, but I feel like the slow drip of information that we got throughout was like really impressively done. And I
It's
feel like as
it's a
someone
part
who
of what makes
enjoys
it
a
unique.
unique way of telling things, that I was like, okay, it's kind of like how Dandelion Dynasty was super dry, but the way the story was told, I'm like, this is peak writing. I know it's good writing. And I know why people wouldn't like it, but I, as a person who likes to see things differently, really enjoy it.
And this is the same. The way that this whole first 20% is done, I'm like, damn, they pulled that off. They wanted me to be confused. I was confused. And then they revealed it and I was impressed and I was hooked and I was
They did the
engaged.
thing.
And I was like, dang. And it's just the looking back. That's why I think I was conflicted, is because I'm looking at this trying to be like, okay, if your average Fourth Wing lover picks this up off the shelf and is going to be like, I'm reading 20%, and they're like, I don't really like it, and they DNF at 20%, they'll miss they'll miss the plot, they'll lose the plot, they'll lose the whole hook.
Yeah, and
So
that's something we go ahead.
I'm fine giving it a 1.
I was gonna
It's
ramble.
just
Yeah, it's a 1. So story end and wrap up. I I feel like the story ended, which made sense for the book. It was not satisfying, was my score. So I give it a half point because the story end made sense for the most part for the character and like the surrounding characters. The story made sense, but it made sense up into a point where I felt like we were being there's like 3 chapters left, and like you could tell like things were maybe moving along towards like a finale or like an end type thing, and we ended up just it just ended.
it just died.
It just died out. Like we were like fizzling towards something, and it just ended up fizzling out instead of up, which is fine because it still ended in a way that like made it a bit ambiguous, but at the same point, it needed this book specifically, I feel like needed a solid ending where either you as the reader were like, oh, I wonder if this or this happened, instead of, oh, the main character went off and did this and he probably did all these other things, but we won't know. It just wasn't satisfying. It was like, hey, you made it out and he eventually visits and hope that's good enough for you. It just wasn't good enough for me. It was this was an easy half point for me. I was dissatisfied by the ending.
I had a counterpoint and I was arguing it in my head, and I
Did
think
I
that
destroy it?
I destroyed it. It wasn't you, it was me. Yes, you
Why
destroyed
is
it.
my
No,
camera moving on its own? Why does it do this? It's fun when I want it to, but sometimes it's just like, what if I just
I think you did the
tracked you?
thing. You probably were, when you were talking, did
I
a
can't
thing.
stop animating my hands when I talk. You keep talking while I fix this crap. There we
All
go. I
right.
fixed it.
Anyways, I rated this with a question mark. So therefore that means I can loosey
Yeah, just do
goosey
whatever
my
you want.
point however I want.
Mhm.
Okay. My big counterpoint with this was, did we get to see the end of the story of Piranesi wrapped up and completed? And I don't think we did.
Didn't-
I did put originally that like, yeah, but I don't think it was an earned ending, right? And that's a big thing that we talk about in a lot of other
I
reviews that we
think
do.
we I think we got an ending to Lawrence's story, the
Right.
like big professor, the prophet. We didn't get Piranesi's ending.
No,
We
we
got
didn't
the
get
ending
Matthew's. We didn't get the
to
ending to Matthew's story.
no. Stop calling him Matthew. He goes by Piranesi.
You're right. Excuse me. A child of the labyrinth
Matthew is inside of him.
of the house, not the labyrinth of the house.
Yep.
Yeah. This was one of those quick categories where I think, did we need more? Yes, I think we did need more. I think we needed to
We
understand
did.
better like what it was going to look like for this character, because it was like, I can't leave. I'm not part of that world.
It
But anyways,
didn't
I guess
fe-
I'll go there. And
Yeah,
it was
we
like,
didn't get the good ambiguous ending where it's like it could be this or that, like in Inception when the top is spinning. Is it falling or is it not? We got he's just fucking around.
this is it'll be interesting to have our vibe rating at the end here, because this is another one that people like to be like 5 out of 5, amazing book. And I don't know that I feel that way. I liked it. I enjoyed it. But anyways, we're getting off. So we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We're tangenting. We're gonna go world building and setting, and you're gonna talk first because I have conflicted feelings.
Yeah. I hate when you have conflicting feelings and I have to defend myself and you just rip me apart.
Why do you
from
have
the
to
inside.
defend yourself? I'm conflicted on my own feelings, not your feelings.
Okay, world building or setting. This, I'm just
Sorry.
jumping right in.
I'm laughing at you.
For the world building and setting, this is a spot where my question repeats itself for the third time. Did we need more? I don't think so. I think that the house was left intentionally, and it was left intentionally ambiguous in a way that was fine. I don't think I needed to understand the house anymore for the purpose of the story. And so I gave this a 1 because the concept and the location was fun. It was unique. Like I could have used, I wanted more. I wanted to see more about the house. But like everywhere that Piranesi went, it was like explained. We got like this whole image of Piranesi collecting fresh water and eating seaweed and having like bowls where they're like through their
Yeah.
potentially on the spectrum understanding of the complexities of this labyrinth. I feel like we got enough of the world building and the setting. And we know that the house is like this space between realms where like thoughts go. That I just feel like the things that we
So-
don't understand are left intentionally ambiguous, which is
So-
why I gave this a point.
Here's where I will interject because I have 0.5 question mark. So setting, no problems. I have perfect understanding of what's happening, where it's happening, and like I can picture everything perfectly. The writing on that I have no issue with, especially in like the halls. The way it was described, it was very exact because, like you said, he had like that childlike like almost hyper focused. Like this is how we'll detail everything. In the fourth vestibule of the 12th hall, whatever. But what I had written down was the world building was good, but I don't know why the world exists still. I understand it's information leaves the earth, but where does that information go? Because it can't just disappear and it goes into this alternate world. That wasn't enough for me. And this is again the point. Is it enough for me or is it enough for the story type thing? I feel like it's enough for this. I don't feel like it's enough for the story. I want it to be enough for the story. And I think that's the hard part. I feel like I could have used a little bit more. And I'm gonna keep going back. I don't even know if I can decide on this point until the end. But for right now, I'm giving it a 0.5 because setting was fine. The world building did really well for, like you said, when he's like, he needs to make sure he gets his water and like everything like that Piranesi had to do was like meticulously written out to like survive and with the other. But I feel like maybe this is where I deduct my point from the other not having a pure or a concise motive was we didn't get enough information about the other and why he had such like an issue with Florence and everything like that. And that could be like story related, but I'm gonna put it in world building because I feel like the world building in this specific book was based on character interactions and relationships. So I feel like that's where I lose the point. The half point. So I'm going 0.5. And I'm sticking to it because I struck myself into the half point.
I think the hardest thing about this for me is that I like to complain and I like to hold things to perfection. And so I really fight against like docking points because because it wasn't perfect. Like character development, I could go back and give it a half point.
But it's like, is it perfect for the book?
Correct.
Because perfect for us us as a reader is different than perfect as is for the book. Because I feel like the character development, talk. I'm rambling. I apologize.
The point I was making is that I agree with everything you said, and I'm naturally inclined to rate lower. And so I'm like trying to, when I have to defend why I rated something higher than you, I'm like, well, fuck it. I just want to rate it lower anyway because because it was frustrating at some points. So I didn't get to know more.
I think
And
this is something that we just need to talk about mano y mano, and that's just rate it what you feel. You don't have to rate it because
I know it's not okay. It's
I
the
know I
you know
know
how when
you
we play
put
video games and I'm not decisive.
I know you put me up here on this
Oh my
pedestal,
gosh,
but you don't
RSQ
need.
out. No, you know how we know how when we play games, I'm not decisive. The problem is that when we start talking about it, you change my mind, and I'm
Because
already.
you know what's funny? We're both impressionable people. We're both easy to sway, but like with people that are like minded. If like
Yeah,
someone like has like, oh, I feel this way, I'm like, you know what, that's a good point. And we sway each other's opinions a lot. And I think the other problem is I am a little bit more stern than you in my point giving.
in your
So
convictions.
yeah. You just have to be loud and proud or something.
I'm gonna have to come back to this. I need to take away a half point somewhere. I just haven't said where
Why?
yet.
Okay, but
Because
why?
no, listen.
I am listening to this. I'm asking why, and I'm waiting for more.
Okay, in the way that the story was delivered, in the way of how so much was left ambiguous, there's something that's missing for me. I just don't know if I've decided where yet. Is what I was going to say. I wasn't saying like I need to give it less points because I need, but there's something that like, and I don't know if maybe we'll get to this as we keep discussing our categories, but in the way that like so much was left ambiguous, I feel like you could totally be like, it was just supposed to be like a mysterious puzzle, but like you said with the world building, it's another paragraph to explain why the house exists.
Do you want to know something too? That this is a very, very quick side tangent. I feel like a little bit what I felt like was missing, and this it's gonna sound stupid as hell, and I don't say it out loud. There's color missing. The
Yeah,
whole story took place in a like fully white marble and ocean place. So I felt like we didn't get a lot of like it probably leaned more towards setting, but like it didn't feel like dynamic at all. It's all like this is a white wall with a white statue. Well, like it just didn't feel like there was
yeah.
enough.
There was like almost not enough going on with the setting.
Which is
It's like the
again,
setting
this is it
itself
was
lacked
totally
depth.
fine for the story,
Yeah,
but the depth was missing there. It was noticeable. It was passable.
I don't know. We haven't even gotten here yet. But one of the categories I didn't even know how I was going to rate is meaningful themes and depth.
We'll get there. We have
We'll get
points
there.
to talk about.
We have, anyways.
Stay
I'm
tuned,
leaving.
folks.
I'm tangentially leaving world building and setting as a 1 question mark.
Well, tell me about your
Uh,
pacing and structure because I feel like I'm intrigued to see how you feel here. Because I'll let you go first because I feel like you have feelings.
My feelings here were actually not unique. They were very much the same as my storyline feelings. That the structure of this book in the beginning makes it difficult to get into until you have the revelation that your main character is amnesiac, because like that was one of the things, probably more than storyline, was structure, because like we don't DNF books, so if the storyline is engaging or not, I'm not
To our
like,
own detriment.
yeah, I'm not like, oh no, I'm so bored. But the pacing itself and like the structure in the beginning, I was like, what is happening? Is this book gonna be like, is the structure of this book gonna be a puzzle the whole time, or is this gonna be, I tried to talk through the carrot and I failed to hold my composure.
I gave this an easy 1 point. And my rationale is the pacing did not have an issue. I don't think that our confusion the first 15 up until that 20% mark where the change happened, I don't feel like that is a pacing issue. I feel like we're intentionally left in the dark because we're meant to see things through the character's eyes who doesn't know that they don't know things. And
Yeah,
so I
and
think everything after that, totally fine, as well as the structure, we're getting things through like this will be also writing style, but we're getting things like told through like journal entries, which is I feel like a unique way to tell things,
that's
but we're
always
seeing
fun.
it again
Yeah.
through this character's POV that is also a not reliable narrator, which is really hard to do. I feel like well as a writer, it's the first one that
I gave this
read.
one a 1. I had just put a question mark by the 1, but for the same reason that I gave it a 1, for the same reason
With
that
the question mark.
yes, because I knew that I needed to talk through it to make sure that that one was actually how I really felt. But it was the exact same tagline as my storyline one. I put that, I literally put here in my notes, I need to talk this out loud. would a less patient reader bear with the early confusion? And I think so, because it's short. Like, it's not a long book, and the early confusion
I mean, I'll tell
lasts
you how
like,
many it is.
yeah,
And so this book it's less than 250 pages. It is 245. So 245 pages. No, that's a lie. No, I'm not. 245 pages. And so 20% it's like nothing.
yeah, it's like 45
At that
pages.
point, if you're looking to DNF before 20% on a 245 page book, you're not looking to read something unique or different. You're looking for a specific type of book with specific type of tropes, and this book didn't hit it, so you stopped reading it. And I think that is a reflection on you as a reader and not
Fair.
so sorry for calling you out. But if you're looking for different unique things, this is on you. And you might not be ready for a unique read or something different. And that's totally fair because mood reads are a thing. Um,
Yeah.
I just think this is one of those that I wasn't necessarily in the mood for, but I still really enjoyed it.
And it was the same. I did
We're
think, I did
uh,
overall think the pacing and structure was a point. I just had that
yeah.
tagline of like,
No, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying at that point. I wasn't trying to make you feel bad.
I don't feel bad.
Okay, good.
You,
I
you're about to ask a question.
I know I lost it. I tried to get it back. It was gone.
You went,
Where I feel like relative good one. You queued me up. I feel like we are, and it's hard to say that we objectively can think of ourselves as objective readers, but I think we do a really good job of setting ourselves like aside from this and be like, okay, we might not be enjoying this, but I can understand. Like, let me reset myself as just like a regular reader and not like a Curtis or Dakota reader type thing. I don't think we needed to do that in this instance, but I could see like why initially we needed to. Like
yeah,
if we didn't read it in one sitting and we're like, okay, this isn't what we thought it was. Let's reset our brain. This we need to like go into this with a different mindset type thing.
which is, I
Which I
think,
feel
what
like
gives
is
us,
important.
yeah, I think that's what causes us to have conflicting feelings, is that we like look at it about how we felt about it, and then we look at it like, like tangibly, was this done well? Like, did the author do what they meant to do? And then we also have the other, like, would the friend in our life that we know that doesn't like to have books that has like 30-40% world building before they get into the plot, would they read this book and enjoy it? And so we look at it from all these different angles and we're like, I liked it, or it was done well, but
Yeah. No, I agree. Emotional impact. I will start with this one.
all right,
I
hit me.
felt it was very easy to see the emotional impact. And I'm going to bring up again because we get this person, Piranesi, has like amnesia. Not like amnesia. He has amnesia. His mind is being slowly reduced by the world that he is in. And it kind of puts him in this childlike state of he has these very basic things that he does. He's very excited about doing them. That's writing this journal, watching the tides, and categorizing the statues and making sure that the other is taken care of. And I feel like when anything upsets that balance, and this is kind of where I initially said that kind of like on the spectrum type thing. And when anything upsets that balance, it's like very disturbing to them. And you can see that in the way that the character acts and how they speak and how they end up developing throughout the book. And even in the end, and it makes sense like all throughout. Like it's never like, oh, this person's like a child, so like I can't see how they would act like that. Like how could they do like it makes perfect sense. Like if you were in that position for the most part, you'd be like, I don't get why this person is doing this if you were in that frame of mind type thing. So I thought
Yeah.
the emotional impact was pretty substantial from the main character's point of view. I felt maybe a little bit. I wasn't like overly blown away, but like you could feel the character's emotions so strongly. So I gave it the full point where I felt like it deserved it.
Yeah, that's exactly why I gave it a point too, because Piranesi feels such strong emotions. It's very interesting that when we first started reading it, you were like, I wonder if this person, it would be considered on the spectrum, because I also feel like the way that Piranesi handled like their sudden changes to their circumstances causing a state of like paranoia and
Yeah.
like emotional like discord, like emotional discourse, felt like kind of on the spectrum. But I agree, it was the emotions were felt so strongly, which is really fun coming off of some reads where main characters are like too stoic to feel emotions. Like, I'm a tough guy and I don't feel real emotions. So it's really
I'm
fun
a
to come.
man.
It's really fun to have the flip side where it's like, oh my gosh, the emotions are bleeding out of this character, and it's like hyper realistic.
And it feels raw enough to where it's like this is an actual emotion. It's not like a fake or like this was written this way because of this. Like I know this
Yeah.
it feels like this person's actually feeling.
Yeah, I also wrote the like anger and sadness, especially towards like Ketterly and being like like the I could feel like the despair of being like tricked into the labyrinth and losing their memory. It
Yeah,
was it was it was emotionally impacting,
I would agree.
which takes us to the writing style and prose. I think we have beat the horse to death enough that I am
Yeah.
landing on a point. I think I have sufficiently talked through all the issues I thought I might have had with the writing style and prose. I'm giving it a point.
It would the prose was no problem at all, and I
Yeah,
feel
prose
like
was
the
great.
writing style was a very just
Just unique,
it was a unique way to go about it. It was a very challenging thing, I'm sure, to
but they
write,
pulled it off.
and it was done well. I don't think it was like, "Oh, they tried this and it didn't work." Like, they tried this in book 1 and then book 2, they tried something different, it didn't work. Like, this was just something that was one of those that it was not tough to get into, but it was you could definitely tell it was a different style of writing from the beginning, and then as it continued, like, "Alright, this is continuing throughout," and it absolutely makes sense for this book, story, character. We both give it a point. So, we're moving on to meaningful themes and depth. I have I actually I don't know what to talk about at this point because this I feel like this is the first book we've read where there were not I don't wanna say there weren't themes, but
Yeah,
were there themes?
there's
There are themes of, like, basic humanity and, like, being decent when you don't have to be type thing, like, you are the only 2 people here.
I think what makes me not want to give this one, I don't even know if this one's tough. Because the problem that I have is I could pick out a few like one-off themes, but none of the themes were themes that were woven throughout the whole story. And that's one of the things I think I really look for is like a theme to be like shown through a character, shown through the story, like shown like as a like a thread as on a tapestry through beginning to end. You see this theme and you see it like well rounded. And I
There
don't
isn't that. And
know. There's
I
like,
wanna expand upon that. I think, again, we have for meaningful themes depth, we have the book explores deep themes, offers insight, commentary, and moral dilemmas. There is no moral dilemmas in this book. There are dilemmas in the fact that he's considering talking to 16 over the other, maybe. Um, but the issue is the fact that this character has such basic instincts and basic thought processes that there's not enough depth to go through anything emotionally.
yeah, it's a very interesting um like flip side to the emotional impact coin because the character felt such raw emotions, but in a way they felt them. One of the things I think that made them feel raw is that they experience emotions like a child. They have like childlike emotions, and the way that we perceive their emotions is so like visceral and raw because they're experiencing them like a child. But on the
And for
same,
the first time, too, it's like it's groundbreaking type thing. But the same token, like you're about to say,
yeah, at the same time, it we don't have that and I think this is like a problem overall that I have. It kind of lacks depth. Like we don't understand. Like if Ketterly had this like big motive that we like saw time and time again, like it's mentioned like once that he like wants to understand like greater beings, and that he's like tricking people into the labyrinth to like catalog it for him.
I feel like to have this point here, there has to be contrast. And I think the hard part about this is we have a character that is so consistent in the way that they're even though they are developing, they have character development, they're going through things, they're so consistent in the way that they see the world that you don't see any sort of change or depth to have a theme that makes sense, I guess. I would be hard pressed like if we just sat down and like came up with themes, we could probably pull stuff out of thin air. But I feel like
That's what I was gonna say. Like
they're not prevalent and they're not like, oh, they're just hidden there because you're not seeing them. They're
yeah,
just not really important to the story, which is fine. But this I think this might be our one of our first, or if not, very few zeros in the themes in depth.
yeah,
It's
there's
very
definitely some
lacking.
one-offs that I could like pull, but one-offs one-offs in that they happened in like one or two sentences, and it's like that's not real. It wasn't like a theme that was really explored. You just like saw them
You
experience
said
it for a second.
something that was
Yeah,
had
you,
depth.
that had some yeah. You had a
You
sentence.
said words that made sense. Yeah.
It's very
So
interesting that we gave that 0.
it's weird saying that because I didn't feel that going in, but now here we are. Um, Rereadability and lasting impact. Half point. I would not reread this book, not because it was bad, but because I read it and I got what I needed out of it. There's not enough depth or intrigue to give it another go, but the lasting impact, I felt like it was very unique and I really enjoyed the story. And when I passed by it on the shelf, like I'm gonna see this and be like, oh yeah, that was the story. Like to my reader friends that I know like would enjoy certain types of books, I recommend this one. So Decoder.
Yeah, I think we landed at the same spot. Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. Yeah, the lasting impact. I think that it's tough for me to have a rereadability on a book that I feel like I could sum up in a paragraph because there's like not like the journey has to
Nothing
be
happened.
the journey has to be either fun enough for me to reread it or it has to be unique enough that I can't just be like,
How
yeah,
do
this
you
is what happened.
recommend a how do you recommend a book that nothing happened in?
That
Because things happened, but like to Piranesi, things didn't
it's
happen
almost
overarching.
it's almost like it does it so well that this feels a little rude to say, but it's almost a gimmick. The whole gimmick of this book is almost the
It
amnesiac, like experiencing that, and that not that this specific point has never been done before, because there are books where you get like a reliable narrator who's like you're learning information with them, like Project Hail Mary. He doesn't have all the information when he wakes up, and
I feel like that doesn't make him unreliable.
no, it's. I mean, you're right. It's different. I'm
It's a
just
different
saying.
chat, but
Yeah, all I'm saying is that
I
I
see what
think
you're
this
saying.
is
Sorry.
almost it's almost like gimmicky. Like and I not that that's bad. It was a fun read and I enjoyed the like reveal and I enjoyed the like what's going like the feelings of
See,
confusion.
now I almost feel like we're about to disagree. I don't feel like this was gimmicky. I feel like this was something like in its own right, something different. And I feel like it's gimmicky because people are gonna try and copy this and be like, oh, this is what like
Maybe I'm describing it wrong. I don't mean gimmicky as in like it pulled off like it picked like a trick or a trope and it just made it happen really well. I mean that it has like the one I mean that this does one thing really really well, and that one thing makes it
a
like
one trick pony.
yeah, it was a really fun experience, but it's not an experience you can repeat. Like I'm gonna really enjoy rereading Red Rising to prepare for Red God. I'm gonna really enjoy rereading Dungeon Crawler Carl in a year or two as like
This
the
is
next
a
couple books come
this
out.
is a quick burn, one and done. You're not rereading this. And if
Yeah,
you are, you're on a desert island the next time we brought this book.
yeah, because you just
It
can't
was
repeat.
good,
You
but
can't
it
repeat
wasn't
the special
no.
illusion of
It's like a murder mystery board game. You do
yeah.
it once and you're like, I know who done it.
Yeah,
Like
like why would
how
I?
are you gonna read that again? You just can't.
So I also gave it a half point, right? Because I would love to know more about the labyrinth. It was like a fun world to be in, but I don't think
Damn.
that this
You
is a
say
rereadable
labyrinth? It's
labyrinth.
too late at night to flame me for that. I can't do it. It's labyrinth. You're wrong.
Yeah, the labyrinth.
We are absolutely just derailing. Our brain cells are rubbing together and just creating one just stupid idiot. Um, RSQ recommended score 7.5. So we RSQ recommended 7.5. My mood read rating, I almost want to give it like an 8 and then also a 7. Like in my head,
Interesting.
I feel like the book was we rated it harshly, and I feel like this was unique enough and simple enough of a book to be one of those like I read this on vacation and I got way more out of this than I thought I would. I thought it was a good read. But I can also see in my head, I'm like, I read this and there wasn't any depth. It was a read and I had a good time, but it lacked a little bit of meat in this
Yeah,
type
I
thing.
I almost want to know how I would have felt reading this in a bubble without someone to chat about it with. I like would I have just been disappointed? Like, what the heck is okay?
I feel
Glad we
like
got
if
to.
you were a DNFer, you would have DNF'd at like 35%.
Yeah, maybe
No,
it's my own. Maybe it's my own insecurities I'm battling when I talk about like, would another reader DNF this? Because maybe it's the reader inside of me that wanted to DNF it. No, I initially landed in 8 for this and dropped it down to a 7.5 because I think that this is Like I feel very good giving this like on a 5-star scale, like a high 3, like a 3.8. Like the reads that you stumble across on Goodreads that are like at sitting at 3.7, 3.8, 3.9,
No,
and
I feel that.
that like this could go either way. This could be like a really fun read that like just doesn't work for everybody, or this could be like, this has some glaring issues. That's why it's not like a 4 plus. It's like a so I feel really good having this one at like a high 3s if we're talking like out of 5. That's like high 3 vibe.
I don't disagree, and I don't think that it deserves less or deserves more. I feel like it's one of those where it's like the mood read will give a will like I said, I feel like it could go up or down with. So I feel like that almost makes our RSQ score make sense in my
Yeah.
read.
Yeah, and it's definitely we've done it a lot in this video, but it's definitely worth acknowledging that it's done well. The author pulls
And
off
you should
something.
read it. It's
Yeah,
not
it's a
something
fun
we're
book.
recommending this book. It's one of those things that's like you're gonna burn through this book. You'll be like, I got it. I really enjoyed it. This was a different book. You're not gonna learn the meaning to life from this book. There's not gonna be some, as far as I'm aware, some grand
It's
revelation that
no
you'll have.
Dandelion Dynasty. It's not changing you as a
It's
reader.
crazy how upset I was reading that because of how long it took, but for how much we got out of that. And we're not going to talk about it because I'm just going to keep rambling. But anyway,
Bailiff.
Bailiff. 7.5 star SQ score. Um, Castle of a Thousand Doors is our next video that we are currently reading that book by Kenny Gould. Super excited to read that. Neither of us has started yet, and very excited to get into it.
Same.
The joke is we already started it, and Dakota's already almost done with it, and I'm a slow reader, and I'm dying inside. Anyway, very excited to read this book. It's another indie author that a lot of people recommended, so we're very excited to check it out. And we're reading it with a another book talker we are excited to collab with, so we will get more information on that when that happens. So check out that video when it comes around. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys on all of our platforms, which is, as far as I'm aware, everything. We're not on the
E-
weird ones like Twitter.
Everything.
Nobody's on Twitter anymore.
We're not on
Just
OnlyFans.
just Tumblr.
We're not on Patreon.
I'm on OnlyBooks. No, I'm just kidding. We're not on Patreon yet, unless enough of you like us. We're like, hey, we'll
Yeah.
pay you to like
If
read
you want
our
to pay us to
question.
read books full time, that'd be great. I'd have no
We would love
complaints.
that. I'm not trying to be greedy, like just enough to survive. I don't want $1 billion or a million.
Yeah.
I'll be a thousandaire. I'm fine with that.
I'll be 100 there.
Well, Dakota will be 100 there. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This was fun. Go check out Piranesi if you like books. It was a good book.
It was a good book.
Anyway, hasta la pasta.
RSQ out.